What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Grave Media. This is Josh here, checking in on you. Oh man, checking in on you out there in YouTube land. Happy end of the weekend. I don't know how I'm going to keep getting myself up for some of these reviews. I changed up the content a little bit, and I was like, we're just going to sweep the basement, sweep the cobwebs out, and kind of hit up some of these disturbing, shocking films in my collection. But this is another heavy. This is another one, and then I promise we'll get back to some stuff. Unless you guys like this. What's funny about this kind of content, or what's maybe not funny, but what's interesting, wrong choice of words there, is things like Zombie, where I show a clip of like people getting their brains eaten, right, or some awesome effects from Folsey. It gets 20 views. YouTube won't push it at all. I put out Dead Girl and it's like 1,000 views. It's just like 15, 20,000 impressions. It makes no sense. So we're gonna do it because I'm into the I mean, who am I? So with that being said, got a case of the Sunday Scaries. It's not gonna get much better. 2007's The Girl Next Door. Thanks for being here. Let's get into it. Take a stroll down any subreddit about the most disturbing things a horror fan can watch, and you're guaranteed to find a little film from 2007 entitled The Girl Next Door. This is a sneaky little film that has the ability to subdue expectations and lull you into a false sense of confidence. It opens with something out of a picturesque Stephen King novel that has all the traditional tropes, a lighthearted intro that feels more like Stand By Me or The Outsiders than a traumatizing, mean-spirited hell of a horror film. But that's just what it wants you to believe. It begins by painting a picture of Americana in Jersey in the early 50s, chasing bottle rockets with beer, ice cream, coke in a bottle, and leering into neighboring windows. But that's where America's pastimes stop and the tensions begin. We're introduced to a cast of characters in a hellhole of a basement that becomes a real-life torture chamber. Based on the novel of the same name by Jack Ketcham, The Girl Next Door is not a comedy from the early 2000s. It's based on the murder of Sylvia Likens in 1965. The story is simple. The girl is named Megan, and she is left in the untrustworthy care of her abusive and sadistic Aunt Ruth, and left to suffer at the hands of the three sons and neighboring kids in the shocking torture and abuse in her basement. We, the viewer, are given a bird's eye view to this approach by way of David, a 12-year-old neighbor who initially objects but then ultimately condemns. It's this, quote, coming-of-age take that makes this film so uncomfortable. We may have the worst parent of the year in Ruth, who does nothing but smoke cigs, Stockholm her daughter, and buy underage impressionable boys beer. Her sheer power of suggestion and authority will give you this feeling of hopelessness, and it shows you how much persuasion and complicitness she actually has. I'm not going to go into like super detail of describing the torturous acts, but it's depraved. And instead of this being an intense horror thriller, it's spun as a straight razor drama. This cable made-for-TV aesthetic undercuts crudely the cruelty and subject matter, and this thing just becomes a ridiculously hard watch, and not one that I'm going to recommend visiting soon. Speaking of Stephen King, this is what the master had to say about this film. The first authentically shocking American film I've seen since Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer over 20 years ago. If you are easily disturbed, you should not watch this movie. If, on the other hand, you are prepared for a long, hard look into hell, suburban style, The Girl Next Door will not disappoint. This is the dark side of the moon version of Stand By Me. Where does this rate on the disturbing scale? Man, that term, disturbing, is such a hard one to define, because what's disturbing for me and what's disturbing for you out there in YouTube land, that's all subjective, and your mileage is going to vary. If you just Google most disturbing movies right now, right, you can see Inside, The Girl Next Door, Antichrist, Martyrs, and then you got films like Hostel, I Spit on Your Grave, and Hard Candy that come up. I don't find those films disturbing. It's going to be different for everybody. Getting into things like Funny Games, Kill List, We Need to Talk About Kevin, that's a different kind of disturbing, and that's a different kind of film. The Girl Next Door, it just makes me feel gross. It just makes me feel bad, and I feel like because of the lens that they film this thing through, like this made-for-TV movie, this kind of like hopeful, like, you know, like, I don't know, this whimsical kind, I don't like it. I think that that's very jarring. It's very off-putting, and it's in bad taste, I think. And I know that maybe they're trying, I don't know that for sure, actually. Are they trying to be like more true to the source material? I don't know. I guess that book's really intense, and it's probably not something that I'm going to go read right away, but The Girl Next Door, this is not going to be for everyone. Like, I bought this, I haven't watched it. I watched this film probably 10 years ago, and I didn't like it, but it is a very well-made movie. It's a competent movie, and it's got actors that you almost recognize. It's almost like The People Under the Stairs meets Poughkeepsie in some sort of, like, horrible, horrible traumatic audition. It's It's not good. It's not going to be for everybody. Is it going to be the most shocking and controversial thing you'll ever see? Again, that depends on what you find shocking and controversial. I'm not going to recommend it, but I do think that it's worth reviewing because it's one of those intense movies that I have that people are like, oh, what's that about? I'm like, ugh. Folks, that was 2007's The Girl Next Door. I just have this thing on Blu-ray because I'm not actively trying to upgrade that thing. What I want to do, though, is kind of a palate cleanser, give you a nice, slow, fast one down the middle of the plate, a knockout hit. This is on Shudder right now. This is what you need to be watching. Horror's greatest. I don't know why I said it that way. It's this kind of like episodic little documentary style where they go into like TV tropes, monsters, and then like Japanese was the last one. They're just different little horror episodes, kind of like cursed films. Awesome content, awesome guests, really easy to digest. That's going to help you get through something like The Girl Next Door. In the comments, though, if you want to see more from me, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know, have you seen this film? I hope I didn't just put it on your list if you were not aware of it. Find that on your own. And then please subscribe if you want to see more from me. Follow me on social media. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Cheers.